Hello, hello. Good morning, everybody. It's that time. It is that time. I am going to get our interviewee on. Let's see here. Okay, we're trying something new today too. So on Instagram. All right. So my interviewee has been added on. Should be on here in a moment. All right. Very exciting. Very exciting. Okay, let's see. Make sure all is well. She is. All right, well, everyone, we're going to get started in just a little bit. This is Angela Jordan Perry with Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling. It's that time for another interview. Hello, hello. Hi, everyone. Sharon. Oh, this is a great day. It's a great day. We have our interviewee. We've been trying to do this for months. I guess maybe, yeah, it seemed like a month or so. But it's happening today. Yes, so excited.
Can you see me okay?
I can see you well. You changed location. It's a little darker.
Okay. Oops. Wants to go in and out. How's that?
There we are. Okay, so we can see you a bit there, and I think you're clear. Okay, I'm going to share it. I've shared it onto Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling. So either you or your husband can go ahead and share it to your page, your personal page. All right, so all my friends here on Facebook and Instagram, yes, we are coming live with our next interview with Lauren Cephus out of Florida, Jacksonville, Florida to be exact. So I've shared it, and I will go on airplane mode in just a quick moment. All righty. There we go. Okay, so it has been shared. Hi, Eugenia. Good morning. As you all come in, please let us know where you're viewing us from. If you are, we're state and city, are you homeschooling in? That would be great to know. So we're going to get started once Lauren is all set. Lauren, you're going to have to find another position because your light from behind.
Hold on.
The light from behind darkens your face.
Okay, hold on. I'm sharing at the same time, so okay.
Okay.
Turn out the lights.
Good morning. So all of you in Instagram land who are watching this live or who are watching this on replay, this is Angela Jordan Perry with Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling. So I have you all in two places. Yes, Facebook and on Instagram. It's going to be great, exciting because this is the first time I get the chance to do it on Instagram as well. All right. Let me know when you are ready and we will get going. Yes, I can see you good now.
Okay, I'm ready, I think. I'm hoping it doesn't go darker. I think it's weird. It's like it just goes in and out. It wasn't doing that before. It's like if I hold the camera a certain way, it's just...
Yeah, it's just because of the light behind you, the light coming from behind you. Instead, you want to have the light coming in front. Yeah. For a moment, that was it.
That was dark. It's darker now. I'm dark. That's better?
That's better. We can see you a bit more. Yes. All right, we're going to get started here. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling. I am turned up for today's interview. Oh, my goodness. Finally, we are getting this together. You would not believe the technical challenges that we have overcome to have the interview today. Woo! So, let me first of all let you know who I am. I am Perry, your host of Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling. And it is a delight and pleasure to have this time with you. Lauren, I'm going to have to, I think you have two speakers going on that feed back into the feed. Maybe it's coming from your computer or another phone or something. I'm not sure. But so I'm Angela Jordan Perry. I'm the host of Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling, and it is my delight to be here with you. I am a homeschooling mom of 18 years, 8 children, 3 we have graduated on, 5 more we have left. We make our home in the northwest part of the state of Campobello in South Carolina. Okay, and so apart from that, I also serve in the homeschooling community here in my state as an Option 3 Accountability Association director. If you're not in South Carolina, you have no clue what that means. But if you want to homeschool legally in South Carolina, you have to join an association, and I'll provide that legal entity for, or legal right for families to homeschool in our state. Apart from that, my purpose-driven life is to make a positive impact on thousands of homeschoolers, and I do that in part right here on Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschool, where I have live interviews, have girlfriend chats on podcasts, which Lauren and I, we have had some technical issues, haven't we, Lauren?
We are now experts.
And we have did our chat 2 times only for them not to take and record. It's been amazing. But today we have our guest, Lauren. So Lauren, are you ready to make it happen, my friend?
I am.
We're good. Let me tell you all just a little bit about Lauren, just a little bit about her. Lauren Cephus and her husband, Greg, are retired experts. Experts to Jacksonville, Florida from PA. Expats. Okay, that's what I thought it said. Expats had their liberated minds. Hi, welcome. Thanks for joining me on Instagram. So they are retired expats to Jacksonville, Florida from Pennsylvania. Lauren obtained both her bachelor's and master's degree in social work and worked as a county case manager and behavioral mobile therapist. She honed in on her leadership skills and political interest as she served in various roles for Service Employee International Union, or SEIU. During her part, advocate for not only her coworkers, but also the community she served. This experience served her well as she has dedicated herself to community activism post. A major role which Lauren holds is wife and homeschooling mother of 6. Over the last 18 years, Lauren and Greg tried various methods of homeschooling and found the best method that fit their eclectic family was unschooling. So we hear this terminology is coming up a lot. Unschooling or child-led learning. They are both believers in the best teachers are the parents. They learned many lessons along with their children. So no matter the hat she wears, Lauren is a strong believer that there is always work to be done, a mantra that directs her need to roll her sleeves up and volunteer where needed. That's her mantra. So without further ado, Girlfriends Guide to Homeschooling, I have just given you a brief interview of Lauren. So Lauren, if you would tell us more about yourself and actually how you got started in homeschooling almost this 18 years ago.
Okay. Well, we got started in homeschooling. We lived in Pennsylvania, and my oldest daughter, actually my 3 older children were in a local Catholic school. I was born and raised in Catholic school. Even my colleges were Catholic as well. I don't know how that happened. I didn't really choose it that way, but it just happened that way. And my mother was an educator. She is. I always still call her an educator. She's retired, and education was always paramount. So I knew that our public school system in the area that we lived in wasn't the best. Pennsylvania doesn't have that great of public school system, and we had made the decision early on to put the kids in Catholic school. My oldest daughter was in like 5th grade, I believe, and she actually had a Black teacher. And I had realized like in March that she wasn't doing well academically. And I had conversation with the teacher. I felt that, she might need to do some summer school. I was very proactive, and I was okay with the fact that she might need to, do some extra work over the summer. And the teacher said, well, let's just see how she does. Well, in June, they passed her, and I knew that she wasn't academically ready. So I was very disappointed, and I was pretty much fed up with the school in the first place, just for other reasons. And I said to my husband, I had a job working in corporate America, and I said to my husband, I don't care if I work overnight stocking shelves at Walmart, because this is what my concept was. I want to homeschool the kids. We're pulling them out and we're going to homeschool and teach them ourselves, because apparently the only way to educate our children is to do it ourselves. I mean, we have the best interest in our children. So I put in my resignation at my job and they gave it back. And they said, you can't quit. So what they ended up doing was working out a work schedule so that I could come in for like 3 hours in the morning, go home, and this is our concept of homeschooling at the time. I thought that we were supposed to school the kids between school hours. So they let me go home, and I would be home for majority of the day, and then I would go back to work in the evening for a couple more hours, and I split my day up, and then I actually worked a half a day on Friday so that I could homeschool the kids. So I had like the best job ever. So we pulled them out, and we signed on with Pennsylvania's first cyber charter school. It was called Einstein Academy, I believe that was the name of it. And when we did that, apparently there was 3,000 students that signed on with the cyber school. And it was the first of the concept that the charter schools would build the school district. So in that happening, the school districts turned around and decided to sue the charter school for the money, because they were like, you can't bill us for these kids. That's your choice to take these kids. And they wanted to sue our academy. So the school ended up folding because they didn't have enough legal fees to fight all of the different school districts, because it was a whole Pennsylvania-wide charter school. It was available to any kid that wanted to go. And it was a great concept. So then we were like, uh-oh, what are we going to do? So then we thought, we evolved to doing textbook work and, trying to find curriculums. And we found a great group of eclectic homeschoolers from Philadelphia that were doing various styles of homeschooling. And we took a little bit from each one of them. And then somebody directed us to this school that is no longer there in Pennsylvania called Upatina's. And Upatina's was an alternative school with a home ed program. So my children actually did the home ed program. And we met a lifelong friend, Janice Kelsey, who was the home ed educator. And my kids would go and meet with her and a doctor called Dr. Lee, and they would do different activities, like once a week, I think it was. I'm looking at my husband because he's like behind the scenes, as usual. We went and brought the kids up there once a week, but it was on a campus where they were doing like unschooling process, but in the school system. So when we toured the school, the kids weren't really doing there was no real formal classrooms. It was like rooms with chairs here and there, maybe a desk, some pillows on the floor. And, it was just like a place for kids to learn, but in their own fashion. And it was child-centered. So we learned about the process of child-centered learning. And actually, my oldest daughter, the one that I had pulled out of Catholic school, ended up graduating from Upatina's as a homeschooler. So when that happened, I think we got to the point where I think they were about to close down the school, and my oldest son decided he wanted to go back in senior year, because my oldest son and my oldest daughter are about a year apart. So he decided he wanted to go back in senior year. So we decided to keep the kids home, and we tried to do cyber school again. And, we started and doing regular curriculum with textbooks, it got really tedious. We were arguing all the time, fussing at the kids. I think our expectations on the children was we wanted them to act like students in school. And then me and Greg had a lot of guilt because, me being a caseworker with child welfare, I kind of thought I was neglecting my kids. And so we would go back and forth into, maybe they're not learning enough. So that, let's give them a little bit more paperwork or worksheets to do, or, I need to find some kind of method for them to, show that they're progressing. Well, that went out the window very quickly, thank goodness. And the younger three children were a benefit of our evolution to unschooling, because we learned through research that children are going to learn no matter what. You know, as long as they don't have a developmental delay of some sort, or deficit, I like to say delay, of some sort, they are going to learn. And we learn all the time as adults. We're always re-educating ourselves, or, you know, using resources. So the name of the game for us was to just show the kids how to tap into resources and how to use them as they need to. So, like, you know, I have my younger three girls are very good at playing the guitar, and they are self-taught. They were part of a program at the Boys and Girls Club, which was our socialization portion. We put all the kids in the Boys and Girls Club locally, and there was a really good guitar program, but they taught like 20 kids at one time how to play the guitar. And so it was very difficult to have like one-on-one lessons. So my younger three girls took it upon themselves to learn how to play cover songs, and they actually started to write their own songs. So that was the exploration that we had wanted them to do by just using resources. I don't know how they figured out how to play guitar, but they're all really good. Wow. So, and I have no skills musically. My husband plays a clarinet, and not even like probably in the last 20 years has he really played it. So it wasn't like we sat down and said, this is the musical notes and da, da, da. We didn't do any of that. We just, one day they said, "Ma, I have a song." And then they would play the song, and we would be like, "Oh my goodness, you need to have a record deal." I mean, that's how, you know, but all parents feel that their children should have a record deal. So, yeah. But, you know, it really was about like just watching them grow and open up their minds and explore and figure out their interests. And, you know, and like I said, we kept dealing with, I would say for like 15 years, we dealt with guilt. Like we kept going in and out of guilt. And, you know, when you have a mother, as I do, who was a strong educator and was like always kind of looking at our kids developmentally to see if they were on target. You know, people always want to test your children when you say you're homeschooling. So, you know, I would kind of feel weird, like, you know, my daughter still doesn't know multiplication that well. Oh my goodness, I'm you know, neglecting her. Or she's just gonna end up not having a life and not being able to be self-sustaining because she doesn't know multiplication. Right. And I finally got rid of that guilt. And now, you know, our youngest daughter is, she's actually back in school. She decided to go back last year in 9th grade. But for 7 years, she was homeschooled. And actually, it was her choice to go in the homeschooling. And then it was her choice to go back. So that's another thing, you know, we use unschooling to determine the direction that the child wants to go. We kind of read each kid and decide how we want to support their learning.
Okay. So wow, beautiful. You said a lot of good concepts and mindset shifts that you all had to go through. The one that I really just want you to unpack just a little bit more is you said this guilt. 15 years of guilt. That's a long time. What was the guilt about? Where you felt like you weren't giving them enough, or they weren't learning, or you just weren't. What was the guilt factor?
I think I drew on the guilt of, like, my mom was a single mother for most of my life, but she was a educator of many. She did a lot of tutoring in the community, and I was always learning something. She was always trying to teach me something and interact and, you know, take me to the next level of learning. And I kind of felt like the only thing I could draw on was my experiences with my mother and my Catholic school, you know, curriculum that I had learned, and, you know, the academics that I had learned. So I kind of felt like, you know, the expectation when I was coming up was that I needed to go to college, and that there was no other option other than the academic track. So then, you know, you raise your children the way that you were raised. So, or you start out doing that, and then you realize that it's just like ridiculous. So it took me a long time to just not feel guilty. I felt like I was not being a good mom by not challenging their brain and to not instill lessons and skills and, you know, what I thought was being a mom and being a parent. So, and then, you know, a lot of us always wonder when we homeschool, the first thing we always say, I don't think I know enough to teach my child. And I'm like, you know, and I think I was there too. And I mean, I felt that I did pretty good in high school. And, you know, I felt that I had the skills, but I wasn't sure if I was a teacher. And then I learned that you don't need to be a teacher. You need to present the resources. So the guilt was like going back and forth when you're measuring developmental progress and academic rubric progress, you know, and trying to identify like where are they. I let it all go eventually. You know, when my oldest daughter got married and moved out, and she was able to be self-sustaining. All my kids started working at like 15. And actually Quinn, my youngest daughter, she started working at 12. So they were able to take their own money and do what they wanted to with it. They had bank accounts. That right there was like evidence that they were okay. Like they were able to maintain. They had good, and all of them have great work ethic. So if I stepped away now, they'd all be able to take care of themselves. And that is all we want. You know, will they be the CEO of, you know, a record company? Maybe not. Will they be a farmer? If they want to be. So, you know, it really is, you know, just presenting like a way to live your life and life skills. And we've evolved to, once we got to that type of thinking, the guilt went out the window. You know, we really change the direction and really look at each child and see the progress that they were going in. And I did a lot of like interaction with other parents, like online, who were homeschoolers, who were unschoolers. And I think that was a great, I'm sorry, now I'm going out dark. It's a great reinforcement for them, for me, you know, to interact with these other parents, these other moms. Most of them were moms. And then have constant conversations with my husband. Constant conversation with my husband at all times, you know, and then, you know, he would say, you know what, we're doing fine. The kids are fine. You know, I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm going out of the light. There we go. I'm holding the phone because it's the best way for me to do it. So I think I'm talking and waving it too much. So yeah, that's pretty much how we were able to get rid of the guilt, but it snuck back in. It kind of surprised us every once in a while.
I got you. Well, I appreciate you being very honest about that. And I prayerfully, this would be very liberating to other homeschoolers who are either getting started or already in the thick of it. And they're feeling those same feelings, okay? This guilt thing. Am I doing it well enough? Am I measuring up? Are my kids going to measure up? Are they going to equal up to their, you know, their peers who are in public school, et cetera, et cetera? But 15 years is a long year, but I'm glad to hear that you came out of it, and that gives us some insights. And, you know, the thing is, too, Lauren, you tell me if this is not true or not. When you've done something and you know something all your life a certain way, it is sometime, although you come to a new way of doing it, or a new freedom of thought, or a new, what you call it, evolving to a new, you know, process of thinking, dying to that old way can almost feel guilt, because it's like a betrayal. It's like, but that's all I know, and this is all we've done, and so I'm now turning here. This can't be right, but this seems right. I mean, it's really that.
It's stepping out. Stepping out, people call it stepping out on faith, or, you know, just doing something different, trusting, you know, the process, and trusting. And that's what I had to do, was trust the process. And I did. I'm very proud of my kids. Like, I'm ultra proud of my kids. They're
excellent, excellent. And I tell you, as a mom who's just now stepping into this unschooling thing, I'm only doing it every other week. School 1 week, unschooling, next week, traditional schooling. But you do feel like, okay, am I doing the right thing? Is this making sense? But I'm hearing over and over, girlfriends, we're hearing over and over for interview after interview that it pans itself out and the kids soar. I mean, they really do. At the beginning, it's this adjustment period of, you know, what we're going to do. And the kids have to figure out, what am I going to do with myself? What do I want to know? So there is that period of adjustment and learning and going. So thank you for being very honest and transparent with that. So what impressed me also, what you said, Lauren, is that when you found that your daughter was not doing well in school, then they were just pushing her along. You're like, you know what? Forget it. I'm homeschooling my kid. I'm pulling them out. Let's do it right now. And you just did it. So
Yeah.
how was the first year, if you can remember 18 years ago, how was that first year of homeschooling for you all?
It was tumultuous and exciting at the same time because, like, once again, we tried to set it up like a classroom, which was crazy. And the cyber school gave you like the computers and everything, so like everybody got a computer and they were so super excited about getting their own computer. And then Greg and I this is crazy. We were trying to like partner ourselves with each kid to figure out like who would be our education partner. And like he didn't do well with certain kids, and then he did well with like better with others. So like him and my youngest son went toe to toe. So then my youngest son was my education partner. So I was like, trying to teach lessons one-on-one, and it was crazy. It was like so unrealistic and crazy. And then they had to be like, and at that time, they didn't have to be available like via video or anything, because we didn't really have videos back then. They didn't have to be available via video or anything for classroom time, but they had to get the schoolwork in. And then, once again, like I don't do well with other people's schedule. Like our family is just so eclectic and just so unique. We can't adhere to other people's expectations. And I think that's just our life lesson anyway. So we're up here like trying to get work done on the deadline, and depending on if somebody's working fast enough for our as parents expectation, then the argument started. And then we didn't have everybody was just frustrated, and it was like we were playing school, but we were supposed to be doing. So it was a little tumultuous, but it was a new front. And then I think what we started as well was what? Can I say something? Sure. My husband wants to say something. Go ahead. Speak.
Sure. Bring him on the camera.
No, come over here. Oh my goodness.
All right. Real quick, what we learned is that our child's learning styles and our expectations weren't the same. Mm-hmm. And that's where the frustration came in. Mm-hmm. And when we understood how our children learn, that's what made things easier. It made the education and introduction of information easier. Right. Once we understood how they learned and their perception of certain things. Right. We were able to adjust that. Like sitting down in front of a computer didn't work for Jackie. Mm-hmm. It was more getting her out into the community, doing museums. More environmental involvement. Yeah,
and like Milan can't stand watching videos and learning, and so she'd rather read than to watch a video, which I always thought was the craziest thing ever. So we had to identify. But one of the things I forgot is that when we transitioned to unschooling, we de-schooled first. Right. I forgot that. That was really important because we had to teach all of ourselves that you don't need to learn, and I used to say this all the time, between 8 and 4 and Monday through Friday, that you're learning all day, every day. And we as adults, we teach ourselves something on a Saturday. We take Saturday classes, or, we go to a festival and we learn something new that we didn't know the week before. So we're always learning, and we wanted to instill, number one, that you can learn at any time, and number two, that there's different methods of learning and there's different ways to learn. And so we had like a year of fun, like where it seemed like we were being lazy, but we weren't. And that's another place where the guilt came in, because we were like, we're doing too much fun stuff. We should be doing all this stuff. So we ended up, I think it was worth it. Because waking up at 2:00 in the morning to run to the restroom, and you hear your kid above you playing a guitar, like some original song that they just wrote, is like, you know what? I'd rather them be up at 2:00 in the morning to be out in the street somewhere and I have no idea where they are, or So there's an exchange there. Like I'd rather them just explore and be okay with being comfortable with opening up their mind and exploring at 2 in the morning without us restricting. I kind of felt like, regular for us, homeschooling in the traditional fashion was too restrictive on our kids and the way that they thought. We just didn't want that. We wanted to use the world as our classroom. And that was like the way, that's another mantra that we use as well. Like the world is our classroom. We always tapped into whatever and use it as a learning experience and a learning tool. And, you know, so that was really important, was the deschooling as well. I forgot about that part. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's huge. Let me let you all know, for all the girlfriends and guy friends who are just jumping in now and just seeing us in your feed and you're wondering who in the world these people. We are, this is Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling. This is a homeschool platform which gives voice to the African homeschooling diaspora. I forgot to mention that at the beginning. So, and also the marginalized homeschooling. So those who are, you know, in the thick of it, they're homeschooling, or like this today, this is a Purple Cow series. Forgot to mention that this is a Purple Cow series. So the Purple Cow series is when, you know, the mom, the dad, they're done homeschooling. They have been through the whole journey for the most part. They're serving in some other capacity of homeschooling, but maybe not specifically homeschooling in their life. And so what in the world is a purple cow? So the purple cow is if you're driving down the road in a beautiful country road and you see a hill full of cows, black and white cows, it might take your breath away to see, you know, even hundreds or thousands. You're like, wow, black and white cows, that's beautiful. And you keep going and you see another hill of black and white cows and you're like, whoa, black and white cows. By the time you see the third and fourth hill or mountainside of black and white cows, you're like, okay, black and white cows, there's a whole bunch of them here. But if you see a purple cow amongst all those black and white cows, you're going to jump out the car, you're going to run over, you're going to inspect it, you're going to look at it, you're going to just want to figure everything else, you know, everything out about that cow. So this is what a purple cow series is. Someone who's been there, done that, has a lot of wisdom, insights, and nuggets to share that we can jump out and be like, okay, tell us the secrets. Tell us what to do, tell us what not to do, tell us what you did right, wrong, you know, what you learned, how you evolved from what into where you are finished at. Right. So we have this wonderful mom and dad who's in the background, the Cephus family. This is Lauren out of Jacksonville, Florida. And she is sharing her wisdom and nuggets. And so we're going to dive in a little bit more. You all be sure to go ahead and hit the share button and tag a friend there. And to tag someone, you just write their names in the comment section. And then to tag, it should just be a button that says share, where it allow you to share it with those who may be on your Facebook page. So you never know who's homeschooling and needs some encouragement. And you never know who is thinking about homeschooling and who needs some insights and wisdom and maybe feeling, right, you know, inadequate, or maybe they feeling this guilt that Lauren mentioned and they need to have that just shaken out of them. And so please share and let this platform get out to your friends and your connections. So Lauren, just to dig a little bit deeper now, after 18 years, maybe you remember some of these things, maybe you don't, but all the questions are so purposeful. If you can take us back to your worst day of homeschooling and, you know, your past life, take us back to the worst day of homeschooling when you thought, what in the heck are we doing? I'm going to put these kids back in public school, somebody else homeschool, but this is not for me. And you almost quit perhaps, but you didn't. And this is why you have now graduated 5 children and one off to school now, or maybe you graduated 4. I can't remember now the count. But nevertheless, 18 years of homeschooling, you didn't quit. Take us to that day.
Goodness gracious. Oh my goodness. You know, I've heard you ask this to other people before, and I'm going to share, this is the little disclosure. My husband's going to kill me. This is our anniversary. This is our 18-year wedding anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. And we've been together 22 years. But there was a time when we were homeschooling where me and him were going through some marital issues for like a week. Literally, it was like a 3-week issue. And we had split up for about 3 weeks. And I had to make a decision because I worked full time. I've worked the whole, almost 15 years, full time. Greg was a stay-at-home dad, which was fine with me. It was fine with him, and we were good with that. But I worked an hour away and I drove one way 1 hour, and then I, came back, and sometimes I had second jobs. So we had split up for like 3 weeks, and I was like, I had to put the kids back to school in regular brick and mortar school. That like broke my heart because I kind of felt like we were going against our belief systems. And while they did well, and it was quite proven that they were fine when they were out of school because of the way that their academics was measured when they went back, it was just kind of like, it was tumultuous for us. And then I ended up pulling him back out because then, of course, 3 weeks later, me and him got our acts together, and we've been, riding with no problem, ever since. So, and that's part of commitment. So there's another lesson, is that you're hanging there together, and you're going to have life obstacles that are going to throw you little, monkey wrenches, but the maturity in the situation is that you need to remember that it's about the kids and it's about each other. It's about what are you trying to, what type of environment are you trying to produce for your kids and for yourself? And, we don't have to do what our parents did, and we don't have to do, we need to develop our own type of strong environment, loving environment. And so, that was the hardest for me, was having to put him back in. It was like it was betraying, our wishes that we had talked about doing. So he's like looking at me like, why'd you tell? No, he didn't. No, he's not. He's actually smiling at me.
Greg, I appreciate you all being so transparent and honest, because that's what helps people, because we're real people living real lives. Right. And if you're married, it's not perfect. And so if you're homeschooling and you're married, or you have a baby, or whatever it may be, you still are living life in the midst of homeschooling. So thank you, because we need to hear that. Hey, it happens, and what do? You have to make that decision. So thank you all for sharing. And girlfriends, I'm sure these are nuggets, insights. So tell us, contrastly, during this time, now you got 18 years to choose from. What has been your most memorable time in homeschooling that made you think, this is why I homeschool? This is why we do it day in, day out, through the tough stuff or whatever. This is worth it. Maybe it even brought you to tears.
All right, so I have like a bunch of stories. My first story is about my daughter, Milan. We were in Washington, D.C. I'm trying to get the light right. Yeah. We were in Washington, D.C., and I found a free walking tour, because I find free tours all the time. I don't pay for tours. So we were at the Washington Monument, and with all these other different people, and the guy says, can somebody tell us why the Washington Monument is 2 different colors? Milan, who was like, 10? Yeah. In a group of adults, and she was like 10 years old. She raises her hand, and she says, because of the war. And I was like, I guess because of the war, they stopped building, and then they started building after the war, and they had different colored bricks. So I don't know where she learned that from, because I definitely didn't even know the answer. So we high-fived and was like, homeschoolers. And so, that was like really cool. And I think then is when I realized that it's working, and that that the unschooling was working, and that we were on the right path. There's so many different things that my kids have done. I mean, just like the self-sufficiency of them. I mean, I have a son that went to high school for 4 years. He went into brick and mortar school. But before that, we homeschooled him, and we dropped him off after senior year in Harlem. And that was 7 years ago. And he still lives there, still self-sustaining, doing his thing. Tried to go to college for 3 years, did a really good job, but just financially, it was just too much. So he wasn't able to help himself and try to go back to school. So, and we were in a place that we couldn't help him financially anymore. So he decided just to work, sometimes 2 jobs and sometimes 1, but he's still there and living there and thriving and doing wonderfully. So we dropped him off at 17, and he's there at 24. And won't answer my text messages. Austin, answer my text messages, because I'm always still worried about you living in New York. And then I have a daughter who is 21 years old, and she drove down from Pennsylvania on one day and came down to Jacksonville on a Monday, went to Tampa on a Wednesday, which is a 3-hour drive for a job interview, came back and moved that following Saturday to an apartment and started her job all in the same week. And she was at the time 19. Yeah. She was 19 years old. Like, I can't even drive. Greg drives me everywhere. He's my driver. So 15-hour drive is crazy. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. It was 12 hours. I'm sorry. And then that same daughter left after a year of Tampa because she was tired of Tampa. And now she's in Dallas by herself, thriving, doing well. And she just turned 21. So those are those those successes. Like, I mean, I think we did go out to see her and we took her to IKEA and did the mom and dad thing and got her some little things for her little apartment. But other than that, she really didn't need that. You know, we just felt like we were doing our part. But she already had the job. She already knew her way to get to work. She already made friends. She signed her own contract for her apartment. And while we weren't excited, I mean, it was a great area. I think it could have had a little bit more in the apartment, but that's my opinion, you know, but otherwise it was what worked for her. And she was in a safe environment. So that is like the proof is in the pudding. Like, these kids are just self-sufficient and they are determining. Oh, let me interject. That same child got our bartending certificate at 19 and can't even drink at the time, but she went and just decided she wanted to become a bartender. So, you know, I mean, it's just that kind of stuff that is like amazing to me. And I mean, I do interact with them. I think I text them at least once a week, and I do give my little opinion, which sometimes goes out the window and sometimes they use it, but they really can think for themselves and they can function, and you know, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And so that's the most and none of them have been to jail. They don't have, I mean, my oldest daughter I'm a grandmom, but you know, my oldest daughter, my oldest son have children, and they are 27 and 28 years old. So, wow. You know, not the grandchildren, my children. Just kidding. So, you know, but I am so proud of them as parents. I mean, they're wonderful parents. So, you know, that's the best I could ask for, you know? Right. You know, do they ask me for $60 here and there? Yeah, but what kid doesn't, you know? And if that's the least I can do, I'm all for it. I'll send you $60. You need gas money? Sure. You know, we all struggle. And a part of the family is to be supportive. But on the other hand, no, Mom, I'm good. I think I need to learn. I'll be okay, Mom. You know, to hear that, that's the best, as to say that we taught them well and that they learned lessons that we tried to provide for them. So that's the best I can say.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. These next ones, well, I have one more question before we go to the end of the show. I just got to ask this because I'm sure somebody's wondering. Two parts of it. How long did it take you to figure out your children, as you were unschooling, how long did it take to figure out what your children's like or gifting or bend was? How long did it take you to really discover that? And what did you do to what was the process of discovering that? Their bend, their like, their gift?
It didn't take long. And I think we learned, I mean, like immediately as it happened, you know what I mean? Like my oldest daughter is very creative in making things. She's a good creator, very artistic. And we knew that because she would bedazzle every phone case she ever had. And I'm like, who does that? And they actually were like, she could sell them, you know, they were that good. My oldest son, he is an artist. The job that I had as a caseworker, we would do activities for the foster children like once a year. And they actually had him do some artwork for the activity that they did for the foster kids. And he was a teenager. Mm-hmm. So he's like really good at art. Like my mother's an artist. She's the most conservative artist I've ever met in my life, but she's an artist. And my older two got that gift. They're both very creative. Okay. My youngest son was very athletic. And I know, I mean, we witnessed that from the beginning when he started playing soccer, and the coach would literally have him by himself play against a whole other team because he was just like able to run fast and get the ball across the field. And it was like all about Austin. It wasn't like teamwork, don't worry about pass the ball, just get it to the goal. Austin, 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 Austin. So it was like, okay, he's good athletically. So we tapped into that and put him in like all these different sports and stuff like that. And then we realized that he had a lot of charisma. So as he got into high school, we put him in a lot of leadership programs, like the Carnegie Mellon program. We got him into Upward Bound, and he did Upward Bound for Math and Science for 2 summers at Penn State University. So we tapped into the intellectual side and the leadership side of him. People loved to follow him. We were on a cruise one time, and he had these boys following him with this white hand towel in their back pocket. I don't understand what the whole purpose of that was, but they watched him and did it, and everybody was following him doing it. We knew he was a leader. I don't know what the purpose. We're still trying to figure that out. But we knew he was a leader, so we put him in those kind of positions. He was in Future Business Leaders of America. He claims he hated it, but he actually did pretty good. And now the job that he has in Harlem is he actually goes out and he talks to people in the public and tries to talk them into, I think, contracting with a green utility company. So, and he actually is doing really well. He keeps getting raises. So apparently that those skills that he learned that we tapped into help him now in his current job. My younger 3 girls, as I said earlier, you know, while they had the little recitals for the guitar, like some kids, it would, okay, I'm saying this, it would take them like a half hour to get through Twinkle Twinkle Little Star on the guitar. Whereas my girls were like doing cover songs for like U2 or for Coldplay. And they were, you could actually understand the song that they were playing. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like, how did they figure this out? And their guitar teacher loved them so much so that they performed in our community all the time. The Music Foundation would always call our girls to perform. Number one, because they knew they were homeschoolers, but they would call my girls because they were so good at performing that they would have them represent the Boys and Girls Club and the guitar program to say, look, this is what my kids can do. What the kids can do, this is what they can potentially learn. So we knew, so we like kept like, you know, just trying to like, my youngest daughter, Quinn, is into arts and into theater, and she's done a couple of productions. And so we made sure, and she's a very good singer, so we made sure that we got her a really good vocal coach who she's been working with for 2 years. And prior to that, they were part of a children's classical chorus that we tapped into. So we always tried to find like resources that would enhance. My oldest son, he was an artist, so we found an art program and we put him in that, you know, so anything that they showed interest in, we were trying to find a class. My youngest son is, I forgot, he's a great dancer. How did I forget that? Yeah. Austin is a great dancer. And we had him in African dance classes, which he claimed he couldn't stand, but he did really good. And he's always making videos of himself dancing and, you know, so we would always encourage, like, I mean, when he went to Harlem, I was like, Austin, you have to take classes at the Harlem, you know, dance company. Like you have to just take classes that enhance. He didn't because nobody listens to me, but he could have. And actually, when we checked him into his dormitory, the security guard thought he was a dancer. She just automatically thought he was one of the dancers that, you know, was coming. So it's a, you know, they all have their gifts, and we identify. I can talk for hours about each one of their gifts. Like they are absolutely just amazing kids. But we always tried to figure out what resource was within our financial realm to be able to tap into, you know, always.
Gotcha. Wow. I'm sure there's a lot you can say about that, and there's a lot I can ask about that, but we're going to go ahead and respect your time and your anniversary celebration, which I'm so appreciative that you took the time to do this on this special day. So let me just ask you these last few questions, just some questions to quickly pick your brain so they can be really quick answers. Let's see, I'm trying to think which one I want to ask you. What is your best piece of advice you have ever received? You or your husband can answer this since he did a lot of the schooling. What is the best piece of advice you received during this homeschooling journey?
Wow.
While he's thinking, I'm
Yeah,
going to say mine.
go ahead.
I think, well, no, you keep thinking. Mine was just, like I think I said it earlier, that your kids are going to continue to learn no matter what. So, you know, we are always curious, and we have the ability to teach ourselves different things. So just let them go and let them learn. Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Oh, he's agreeing with me.
He's agreeing. Yeah, that's good.
So,
Tell us. Go ahead, Greg.
no, I said that was a good one. That's pretty much it. That if the main importance for me was to, like she said, just recognize the children, and if they suggest something to you, you know, that's where they want to go. So you find things and you compound on that, you build on that. So I mean that's you know, whatever their interest is, you can make it adjust and educational. You can add everything to it, but as long as they have an interest in it, you have them. You have their attention.
You have their attention, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, very good advice. Very, very good. That's good. What was your favorite resource or tool or something that you had that just helped you in this homeschooling journey, Greg or Lauren, whichever one of you? Something that you was like, this is something that every homeschooler needs to have in their homeschool. They need to know about. They need to be using it or working with it.
I would say when we started the unschooling, I got the Unschoolers Handbook, which was by Mary Griffith. And it pretty much, you know, emphasized that it's natural to learn and that you use the world as your classroom. That was the best book that I don't read self-help guides and all that stuff, but I loved to read that book. And I think it's in Pennsylvania with my oldest daughter because she was going to homeschool her kids as well. So I thought that was a good first starter for people who wanted to slide into the unschooling process.
Good deal. And I just love to hear already, you put that quick little sentence in there, a few words, that now you're looking at a second generation of homeschooling that may happen in your family. You know, I think that's amazing when our kids that journey. Just beautiful. All right, so here we are. We're on our last question, the $1 million question. Are you ready, Greg and Lauren?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
You ready?
If you had to start all over again, okay, but you have your current wisdom, knowledge, skills, convictions, insights, and you're going back to day one of homeschooling, what would be something that you would change or be sure to implement in your schooling journey?
We would definitely not have went with the cyber charter school. We would have just went straight into unschooling and tapping into the children's interests and running with that, like utilizing, like Lauren said, we would just continue. We would initiate utilizing the world, and we would probably made it overseas a lot quicker, and educated them over there. I mean, not being afraid of doing those things.
Right.
So venturing out further, quicker.
And I would have got that bus that I wanted to get way back in the day. I wanted to get a bus like way back and convert it and then travel the country and go down into Mexico and barter and just live and just let the kids learn. Like that was our dream, but we didn't think we had enough money. So, and we were just nervous. You know, we thought we were going to be neglectful. So we said, no, we won't do it. But I would have done more baby wearing. I would have done more attachment parenting. I would have done just with all of them, because the younger three were benefits of that, but the older three were more, we practiced on them, but the younger three, I think we got it right. So that was the unfortunate part, but we definitely would just kind of be a whole lot. We'd be a bunch of hippies. We already are, but times 20.
And that's okay. That's okay. But thank you all so much. Listen, Lauren, Greg, is there any last words of advice you want to share with our girlfriends and guy friends here? What way can they get in contact with you if they want to continue this conversation? I know there's a lot of questions I could have asked, but maybe they want to continue the conversation and ask you some questions directly. And then what do you have your hands involved into that you want us to know about as an extended part of our village there in Jacksonville, Florida, that we can connect in and support you in?
Well, you can find either me or Greg, Lauren Cephus, Lauren McAliley Cephus is my maiden name, McAliley Cephus, and Greg Cephus, on Facebook. I'm two parents and a teen on Instagram. Are you on Instagram? Greg's not even on Instagram. He's so old. And then me and Greg are part of an organization called the Black Commission. And we are a Black political activist organization here in Jacksonville, a 501c4, which gives us the opportunity to be able to do some political activity. And we look at issues as they pertain to the Black community. So issues within education, economics, within policy, and also within mental health / medical issues. And we've been in operation. We were founded by by a gentleman by the name of Dalo Sekou, who was also running for City Council 8, District 8. And he founded us back in July of 2016. Yeah, I always get my date. I always get the years wrong. 2016 in July. As a result to some local shootings and things that were happening, people just wanted to come together to do something productive. And he brought us all together, and we all decided to start to identify issues politically and through policy, because really it's the policies that don't protect us. So we've done some public speaking. We've gone to vigils. We have been to more vigils, more marches since we've been in Jacksonville than we ever have in our entire life. And it's sad and it's unacceptable. So we have dedicated ourselves to be a voice in union and unity with our brothers and sisters here in Jacksonville. And we have a lot of allies, white allies, Puerto Rican allies, Asian, doesn't matter, but it's just all, to make sure that we have access economically, politically, that we have a voice. And so that's pretty much what we were doing in our volunteer time.
What about the co-op?
And we're also, we just started to teach a culturally connected homeschoolers at a co-op here locally in Jacksonville, founded by Tamika Williams and some other moms. And we teach civic engagement at this point. And then next year, I think I'm going to try to open it up to civics for the first semester, and then civic engagement in the second semester, and develop a whole, year-long process to help the kids understand what their obligations and duties are, responsibilities are. So, so far we've had 3 classes, and it's been absolutely wonderful. We work with high school kids and one middle schooler who is definitely on point and on target with everybody else. And the kids instigated their own debate last week, and it was absolutely fabulous. So we are doing a little bit of unschooling in there and just kind of letting the kids direct the learning as well. But we're having a lot of cool discussions, and I really enjoy it. And it's only an hour for the class, but it's really given us a lot. We really miss homeschooling. We really do. So I'm glad to be a part of that. When Greg's thinking about doing some stuff next year, and he's going to talk to Tamika about with young Black men. So, so that's what we've been working on. Beautiful.
Any last words of advice, Lauren?
There's a quote by Albert Einstein that we saw at Disney. And it's something that's always resonated with us every time we've gone. And it's imagination is more important than knowledge. And it is something that led us in the unschooling process as well. Because you learn, but sometimes knowledge and the academic learning can be constrictive. So, using your imagination allows you to be more free and to create and to be more open and step outside the box. So that's, something that we always find to be really important to live by.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. Girlfriends and guy friends, listen, you are the average sum of the 5 people you hang out with. And for this last hour, you have been hanging out with Lauren and a little bit of Greg for this last hour. So listen, keep up the momentum and continue to connect with positive homeschooling influences and those who's going to add value to you and to what you're doing, and then you be that positive resource that they can draw from. Okay, it's a reciprocation of giving and taking. So continue the momentum, and just remember that to teach a child is to touch a life. And as we homeschool, we not only touch a life, but we shape the future. Just like Lauren was saying, we can look at what she's done, and her kids now are 27, 28, 24. They're older. They're on their way. Look how she shaped them. And I think that's just beautiful that we can look forward, look back, and just see what the hands of her and Greg has produced, and gives us hope and encouragement for ourselves. So we not only just shape the future through our efforts of homeschooling, we are actually impacting the future as well through our kids. So keep making a positive impact day after day, year after year in your homeschooling journey. Keep standing strong and get connected to people just like Lauren, who's going to give you encouragement along your journey. So Lauren, Girlfriends has got to homeschooling. We are so thankful to you, appreciate you for giving up your time, your resource, your anniversary, hour of your anniversary time, and all the times before then trying to get this technical stuff together. So thank you for persevering. It was worth it. We did.
Yes, it was. We're the IT business people, so if y'all need some help, me and Angela got you.
Got it. We figured this thing out, buddy. I'm telling you, over weeks. So, but I'm so grateful to you, Lauren and Greg, for giving up your time, your insights and nuggets to making this happen. May the Lord bless you in all that you're doing, and as you continue to plant these seeds in the homeschooling community. I mean, bless you all. You all could be like, we're done, out of here, gone. But no, you're still in the thick of it. So thank you. You all be blessed so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, girlfriends, guy friends, it's your turn. Go out there and make a difference. Shake off the guilt, learn and take what we've gotten from Lauren, and just know that we're not going to mess up our kids. They are going to be productive, and they always are learning. They are going to do what they're called to do and thrive in as we shape and help that. So thank you all so much. Be sure to go over to Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling on Facebook. That's an S and then apostrophe. Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling. Follow and like, so every time I go live with one of these interviews or go live with a series that I'm discussing or anything like that, you'll get the notifications for that. Be sure to share it with a friend. We're on Instagram as well as GG2H with Angela Jordan Perry. Follow and like us there. We have our podcast, Girlfriends Chat, where you can get in there and I just get on the phone and talk to you. Lauren, we have to do that again. We'll try it again. We'll try it again.
Well, I'm ready when you are.
Okay. All right. I'm going to get in contact with you. So we got a Girlfriends Chat on podcasts, all your main platforms. You'll find Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling with Angela Jordan Perry. And then lastly, on Tumblr, 2 things, YouTube channel, Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling, and then as well on Tumblr. Just look me up, Angela Jordan Perry, you'll find me, okay? So again, you all, thank you for joining today. You all have a blessed rest of this week. The sun is shining beautifully. It's supposed to be in the 80s here in South Carolina in the mountains, so woo-hoo. So we're excited about that. Lauren, you all go have a wonderful anniversary. Happy 18th, and I just pray triple more for you all, quadruple more. That is possible. Lifetime. So you all be blessed. Have a wonderful day. Bye, girlfriends. Talk to you soon.
Bye. Take care. Bye-bye. I don't know what I'm doing.